Hello, America, and welcome back to another episode of To Hear Me Tell It, the life and times of Jerry Daniels. When you've had your daily dose of today's craziness, dealing with all them Karens out there, ride shotgun with old JD as he goes back and recounts the life and times of growing up in the South during the 60s and 70s. I believe we were called baby boomers. Stories that you will say, yep, I done that, but I ain't gonna tell my kids. And I ain't never told my spouse. But whatever the truth be, it will be this, to hear me tell it. Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of To Hear Me Tell It. Ooh, sun's a little brisk up here this morning in the mountains of North Georgia. Let me see what the temperature is. I probably should have looked that up before I started. It's 32 degrees right here at the house. 32. It was all frosty. And my chickens is warm because they're inside of the coop mahal. So, anyway, still Blazing Jimmy's cold. So I use that universally. It can be Blazing Jimmy's hot, or it can be Blazing Jimmy's cold. Not sure Blazing should be on the front of that, but Chili Jimmy's. Chili Jimmy's cold? I don't know. Who cares? All right, I want to start out with a shout out to all the listeners. Woohoo! I thank y'all. I'm serious. I do. Mike Snyder and Bob Gherkin and Christy Dunn and Al Reeder, and a handful of other ones, Joe Stitka being one, is folks that listen. Appreciate the feedback, y'all. Thank you. My surgery recovery is now, today is the 4th. So it's been almost, Tuesday of next week will be 2 weeks, but it appears to have gone well. Got this badass bruise on my stomach still, though, man. It's nasty looking. It's kind of funny. When I went to the doctor the other day, he had to look at it, and he took all the little stair strips off, and he says, "Oh, it's looking good." I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's a hell of a bruise, ain't it?" And he goes, "Yeah." He's touching it, and he said, "I don't know why that would be there. I wasn't working over there." I said, "Well, maybe my body wasn't behaving and you got ill with it." And he made a comment, and I thought, I'll make a mental note of this. He said, "Well, that's probably where I gave you a shot to numb it up." And I'm thinking, no, wait a minute. I was out. You didn't give me the stuff. I was in surgery. You cut my guts open. And you're telling me you gave me a shot to numb it up? To numb it up for who? I was asleep. I thought, that was odd to say. But I made a note of that because that bruise is still there. Boy, does it look bad. It looks real bad. And it's freaking sore right there, too. Excuse me. I got the thing going on. I was talking to Mike Posey, and we talk almost daily on text. But I was sharing with him, because he's been sharing with me for the last couple of weeks. Mike's been sharing with me the last couple of weeks about all the damn gnats he has. And, I told y'all before when we moved here, that was one of the things that when we retired from the Navy, my lovely bride said, "Well, I'll move to Georgia with you. But we ain't going to live where them damn gnats are." And I can respect that. I don't want to live next to the sumbitches either. So Mike Posey was saying the gnats won't go away, and it was in November, I think last time we talked about it. But I believe 2 or 3 days ago, which is I guess in December, he still said they had gnats in Potterville, Georgia. I don't know what the solution to that is. I know how to avoid it. Don't move south of the gnat line. Going back to the shout-out things and the folks that listen, Al Reeder is amazing. Now, y'all don't know Al. Al's an amazing individual. I met Al Reeder in 1983. I think it was... No, 1984. I met Al in 1984, January of 1984 in Brunswick, Maine. And Al and I became very good friends, and he was the best man in my wedding. And he and I, we met in VP 44. We were combat air crewmen together. He was a radar operator. Al was a radar operator, and I was an in-flight ordnanceman in the P3 squadron. For 7 of my 26 years in the Navy, I was air crew. But Al is from Albany, Georgia. And he's funny as hell. I like Al Reeder. He's funny. He's a good man. Al Reeder's a good man. And he walks at a pace of his own and all that. And he's very prophetic, and he has insight to certain things I just don't see. And he bought the first home computer that I'd ever laid eyes on. It was an Apple, and that damn thing was no bigger than this. It was just a tiny little box thing that he paid money for, and I thought, Al, why did you spend your money on that shit? He says, every house in the future is going to have a computer. I said, no, it's not. So, but he's a good photographer, and I set him up on a blind date with my second cousin, and they've been married a long time and got 3 children. How about that? Al Reeder, great American hero. His daddy, Al's daddy, named Joe, has passed away, but Mr. Joe was an ordnanceman in the Navy. He sure was. He was in a I forget the name of those jets. I thought I had a picture of him, but he was in those jets in Korea. I think he was on the Bahama Richard or something like that. But Al's daddy, believe it or not, Al's daddy was an aviation ordnanceman in the Navy. So how about that? I owe you, Al. But anyway, so talking about Al being insightful, I had mentioned in my last podcast about growing up in Butler and the courthouse square and whatnot. And Al sent me several links to several articles about the chains around the courthouse squares. And if I can jump over here, I'll go over here and bring them up. But yeah, Al was inclined to send me, some emails, and I thought, well, these are interesting. And here's one of the things that Al sent me. He said, based on historical documentation and the National Register of Historic Places, the chain fence that surrounds the Taylor County Courthouse in Butler, Georgia, originates back from the 1935 construction and the current courthouse building and its grounds. Says here are some specific details about the courthouse, construction of the courthouse and the grounds there in Butler, Georgia. Says part of the original 1935 landscape design, the post and chain fencing is officially listed as its contributing resource to the courthouse historic designation. It was installed as part of the formal landscape plan when the new neoclassical revival style courthouse was built in 1935. Civil Works Administration, CWA project. The construction of the courthouse and the installation of the grounds and that chain fence as the fence was founded by the Civil Works Administration, a New Deal program during the Great Depression. The project provided jobs for local laborers. Connection to convict labor demolition. While the chain fence itself is likely a manufactured architectural feature in 1935, there is a historic connection to the chains at the site. The previous courthouse, built back in 1853, was demolished in 1934 using convict labor chain gangs and to clear the site for the new building. So evidently the original courthouse square was demolished, was built in 1853, and then it was demolished and they built the new one in 1934, 1935, that time era. And I guess they used convicts. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to do more of that. The Confederate Monument Connection, the chain fence encloses the courthouse square, which includes a Confederate monument, which was erected by the United Daughters of the Confederacy. The fence serves to frame this monument and the lawn as a public space, is what it was. And then it says there is a common folklore in several Georgia towns like Savannah and Athens, where heavy chains are said to be, quote, anchor chains of the civil warships and chains that were used to secure large cotton bales. And anyway, however, it says the Butler courthouse, specifically a historical record, points to the chains being deliberately architecturally choiced by the architect, Frederick Roy Duncan, just to complement the 1935 building and its grounds. So Al sent me that, and then also somebody want to know, where do you think he got those chains? And it is guessed that those chains came from that big plant. I think they were making Civil War either ammunition or cannons and whatnot over there in Columbus. So there's speculation that that's probably where those chains came from. And then Al sent me a picture, and I'll post it here on the website. But he sent me a picture, as you can see it right there. And I was talking in the podcast about the gap between the Edwards building and whatever that other building was, and then how I would go between there. And I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the picture, but yeah, that's it, Al. That's definitely the picture. And it's my understanding now that around the courthouse square that all the chains and the ballards are gone and all that stuff, and that's a shame. It's a shame. But back to the gaps. You can see that gap in that picture. You see that gap, and y'all, I'm not exaggerating. I bet as a child, I've run between that gap 10,000 times. I did it a lot, maybe 10,000 is a stretch, a few thousand times. I've run between that damn gap there. Played hide and seek. Now, what I did notice in this picture is the awning or the cover in front of the Edwards building. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. I sound like a Yankee there for a minute. Gone. That's gone. And we had our Sunday school class. I know I mentioned this. We did a rock-in or something like that, and we raised money. And for like 2 straight days, we sat in rocking chairs up under the awning that's no longer there, and we rocked and we raised money, and we ate, and we got to be teenagers, and that was in the great days before there was such thing as cell phones. So anyway, thank you, Al, for sending me that picture. And I joking with Al, I said, man, you got too much time on your hands. This is stuff you look up. But he found it, and like I said, Al's a great friend, and he sends me stuff that's always interesting and insightful. I'm looking up here, and let me see. This is another thing he sent me. It says the project in 2024, which went on in 2025, the city of Butler undertook what they call a downtown streetscape project. And they wanted to, I guess, widen the walkways around the courthouse and make it prettier and everyone. Anyway, so the posts and the chains were taken down. So my question is, anybody that knows, I'd love to know where those chains went. I'm just curious where those chains went. So, all right. So enough about that. I'm going to try to couple a couple things, and then I'm going to come back to talk more about this buzzword that all the Democrats have learned that, and the Democrats are not smart people, but the Democrats have learned that, we need to keep using the word affordability because that's how Trump got elected. And if we got to get him out, then we got to get him out because we'll start using the word affordability. So anyway, we're going to talk about that. All right, a couple of headlines in the news. And I know I've talked about this before, but I think, it's just good old Jerry. I think it would be prudent, advantageous. I like those words, prudent and advantageous. And that, a wise man once said with regards to giving advice, he said, be chary about giving advice because wise men don't need it and fools won't heed it. So I'm not inclined to personally give actors and actresses, entertainers. Remember, whether you're a musician, when I say I'm talking, professional, but if you're a musician, if you're a comedian, if you're a talk show host, if you're an actor or an actress, we say this word film, but we don't use film anymore. But if you're in the performing arts of any kind, the theatrics, the music or whatever, anyway, any of these folks, just remember something. This is, I'm not inclined to give you advice, but I am giving you advice. Just remember something. And a couple of y'all do know this. You're just an entertainer. You're just an entertainer. You actually make a profit and a good living, most of y'all, by entertaining people. That's what you get paid to do. And your customers or your audience, and most of the folks in your audience, at least in the conservative world, is we don't give a damn about what you think. I don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care. I don't care. And when you start running your mouth, it develops what they call gross familiarity, which breeds contempt. Like, well, you know what? So like the Robert De Niro and the Will Smith and what's her name? Rosie O'Donnell. Is it Rosie O'Donnell? I don't know which one of those. Bates, and now and there's a Tom Hanks. There's a laundry list a mile long of these people. Even what's his name? That shows you how unimportant you are. The guy that was in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he was in was he in Star Wars? Yeah, he was Han Solo. Whatever his damn name is, I don't care. It'll come to him in a minute. He's a libtard too. It's killing me because I know the guy's name, but I can't think of it. Anyway, it'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, so now today in the news is Richard Greer, however he says his name. Don't care. He's a libtard and he's an entertainer. He's like now the new poster child, and he's slamming Trump. If I can find the article here, but he's slamming Trump. And he forgot the rule of you're just an entertainer, so just keep your mouth shut. Nobody really cares what you say. See if I can find it here. And there it is. He says Trump's effect on America is beyond what anyone could ever imagine. Well, here's Richard. Let me help you out here, buddy. When any of you actors speak and you go, everybody knows it. No, that we don't. And when they go, everyone couldn't, or anybody else, and everybody does, you know what? Anybody, including me, who has to preference or wrap up their feelings with what everybody else or most people know, or everybody knows. I love that one. Well, everybody knows it. Well, no, they don't. So Greer says, quote, the effect on America by Trump is beyond what anyone could ever imagine. No, Richard, you need to take out the one person, anyone. Here's what, and again, this is advice. So here's what he should have said, because this is called I'm not responsible for my feelings. What he could have said is, I believe Trump's effect on America is beyond what I ever could have imagined. Those are called I statements, not you statements. One statements, them statements. So he don't want to own it. He don't want to own it. So he is not a victim. Cancel that. He is a sufferer, I guess is the word, of TDS. And that's real. People have Trump derangement syndrome. So the likes of Richard Gere and those other actresses and actors and celebrities, that includes professional athletes. I still can't remember the guy's name, man. So, hey, I'm not going to get off this podcast. I'll remember his name. How long am I going to look it up so I can get it off my mind? But, Mr. Richard Gere, he lives in a world. He lives in a world in Hollywood. He's been filthy rich for a long time. And I'm okay with that. I'm all about, I don't use the word capitalism. I'm all about free enterprise and somebody making a living. He's found his niche and he's profited from it. That's cool. That's cool. But I think maybe he is clueless on how the world is. And he cannot process that Trump won not on the popular vote, but on the electoral college votes. And he's got mandates. Richard Gere can't deal with the fact that he's a minority. And that's really part of the problem with all the libtards. And they use words like, well, everybody feels like me. No, just your little circle of friends feel like you. So I know for a fact people don't feel like Jerry Daniels. I know that. I know for a fact that there's a lot of people think differently than me. So I don't run around going, everybody feels like me. No, I just know I feel like me. But Richard can't say that. So, oh well. All right, I'm going to look it up. what's his name? Golly, Pete, that's pretty bad, ain't it? Actors in Raiders of the Lost Ark. There it is right there. We'll bring it up. Harrison Ford. There we go. That libtard. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, got him off my mind. So he's one of them too. But poor Richard, I'm going to bring up the article. Poor Richard, and this is going to be a lot of news today. But look, get this, and this is hilarious. Richard Gere, I guess that's how he says his name, says Dalai Lama's words. All right, I got something that just popped up here. That really ticks me off. So, I'll turn down my speaker. But anyway, so Richard Gere says Dalai Lama's words couldn't change Trump. What he's done is astonishing. So he has suggested even Dalai Lama couldn't change Donald Trump. And then Gere said that hearing the Dalai Lama speak made him reflect. Dalai Lama speak make him reflect on how the United States was on a very wrong track. So I'm not sure about anybody that's quoting Dalai Lama. I don't know that it would touch him. Okay. I'm trying to find out where his Trump phobia is. We have this is a quote. We have a president who's completely, he's not only crazy, he's a dark presence. Really, Richard? You think Donald Trump is a dark presence? Brother, you are a soup sandwich. It happened so quickly. Oh my gosh, Richard, you gonna be okay? It happened so quickly. Trump became president because he was elected by the people that you have absolutely no idea who they are, what they believe, how they feel. No. Yeah. He goes on to say, authoritarianism takes us all over. We've got to be vigilant. We have to be alert. We have to be energetic. We have to be brave. We have to be courageous. Yeah, I think the people in Minnesota should be vigilant. I think they should be alert. I think they should be energetic. They've got to be brave. They got to be courageous because there's a group of people in Minnesota that for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years been trying to be brave and courageous, and the corruption within the so-called democracy of libtardism has threatened people to be shh, while the entire Minneapolis and the Minnesota government, politicians, all the networks up there, they've all sold their soul to the corruption that was brought here by the Somalis. So anyway, yeah, good luck there, Mr. Richard Gere. I don't know. I can tell you, brother, is they don't have a pill for what you got. And if you want to really set yourself free, get out of Hollywood. I know you're an old man now. Get out of Hollywood. And you need to get in rural America and find out what rural America is. You need to start associating with like the backbone of the nation, the blood and sweat, the brow of the people that are paying all these taxes. I know you're sitting there going, well, I pay my taxes too. Yeah, you do. I'm sure you do. And I think you should. I'm all about everybody should pay their fair share. And somebody goes, what is your fair share? I don't know. Neil Boortz, before he died, you'd have talked about it. And Herman Cain used to talk about it. Yeah, I don't think they should tax you more because you have a lot of money, Richard. See, we probably have something in common. I don't think you should have to pay any more taxes than I do. And if you get taxed for 10%, then I get taxed for 10%. If I get taxed at 7%, you should get. But you shouldn't have to pay more because you are more successful. That's called penalizing success. So I don't know what it is. If you pay an ass load, that's all fine. But what's the percent? I should pay the same percent as you. And if they go, well, Josh, man, Richard Gere, he gets taxed 50%. I'm going to go, well, that's wrong. How'd they come up with that? So anyway, but you've got TDS, and if you want to just break that and get rid of that, there is a cure for TDS. Is get out of your little bubble and get into the real world and find out what the real world is really like. Go find it out. Maybe you'll learn something. All right. Another interesting thing I thought I saw and I read this morning is Al Gore. Al Gore still has a platform. That guy is a sleazeball. Anyway, so Al Gore was doing some kind of public speech, and he goes on to carefully but very directly I'm paraphrasing, but he basically says Donald Trump's a Nazi. And I'm thinking, what an idiot. What a freaking idiot. So the guy who says he invented the internet, y'all remember that? Al Gore, that snake? That guy's useless as tits on a bull hog. Anyway, boar hog. Anyway, but Al Gore is out there and he's talking about how, Donald Trump, what he's doing, it's right up there with Adolf Hitler and him being a Nazi. Yep. Al Gore, you're an idiot. It's just dry up and go away. Man, I don't know. All right. I thought this was really interesting. So there is a British national from the UK, and maybe I can find the story again. There is a British national from the UK, and hold on, let me see if it's going to start playing it, which I think it does. So he's a consultant. He's a British national. He's an IT consultant. And he was in the United States doing some work. And he visited some friends in Florida back in July for a 4th of July celebration. And it was also his 50th birthday. So this is a British national from the UK celebrating his 50th birthday at a 4th of July picnic celebration somewhere in Florida. And during the visit, which would probably happen at my house, they got outside and were starting to shoot firearms. Yeah, it's part of our culture. And they were out there in the backyard, and he's loving life, waving the American flag. And he poses, well, he has somebody take pictures of him, shooting an AR-15 and a shotgun and a bunch of other stuff. Well, he gets back and he posts this on some sort of social media, and I don't know if it was on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it was, but get this, man. The police in Britain, the law enforcement, comes to his house and they arrest him. They come to his house and arrest him because he shared photos of him holding and operating firearms in America. And not only did they come and arrest him, they came back later and arrested him again. This is exactly what the Democrats want in America. This is what they want. They want this. Yeah. They all in the street going, no king. No, this is what they want. This is the kind of life they want. So, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but evidently somebody posted that they were offended and that the photos scared them. So the police goes to this guy's house and arrest him. Yep. Oh, well. Said he had to deactivate his LinkedIn account and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's, this is woke over the top, but what it is it's socialism, aka communism, is already in England. And they're already suffering the negative impact of letting all of these African and immigrants just flood their country. And they go to England, why? To spread their corruption, their immorality, and to suck the taxpayers dry on all their social welfare. So any county, city, state, country, when you just roll out tons of free stuff, flies come. So all the free stuff is better known as shit. And when you put shit and spread it everywhere and say, oh, look, the shit is free, the flies will come by the droves, a.k.a. Maine, up in Augusta, Maine, Minneapolis, Minnesota, all of Western Europe. I don't care if it's Italy, Spain, France, England. Y'all are in trouble, man. I feel sorry for y'all. Why? because y'all thought it was the virtual thing to do. Oh, we're going to just help everybody. We're going to open our doors, and we're just going to embrace this thing that everybody's teaching, that we need to be sympathetic, and we need to be tolerant and all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? The vast majority of these people that came, they're all people who practice the religion of Islam. Can't coexist with anything. So opening your door, going, I'm going to coexist with a culture, whether it's Somalis or whatever, but I'm going to try to let them come in and be nice to them, and everything will be good. Well, no, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. They just come to get your free shit, and they get out of the shithole they left, and they'll turn what they got there, they'll turn it into a shithole in a matter of 100 years. So, all right. I feel sorry for that dude in Britain. That's messed up. All right, and the next thing I'm going to talk about is Tim Walz. You know, I think he's done. That's just me. I think he's done. I'm shocked. And you can't make this up. There's no way to make up this level of stupidity. The whole thing about Joe Biden, and then he did his debate with Donald Trump, and then all of a sudden, the veils have been lifted off everybody's eyes. And they're like, oh my gosh, Joe Biden's really messed up. Yeah, he is. He's a senile, feeble, corrupt old man. And you guys were going to just go, we want him to be president again. Well, there was a group that wanted Joe Biden to be president again. That would be Barack Obama, George Soros, and all the socialists and the communists are in the background doing all the work. They want to keep the senile puppet. That's what Joe was. They want to keep the senile puppet in office so they can keep controlling the auto pen and just keep running the government in some dark room. Well, that all got exposed. Within the liberals, the Democrats, who are always screaming about, oh, we got to protect democracy. Well, y'all didn't even protect your own democracy. You had a presidential candidate who dropped out. And then without you guys going, okay, let's get together quickly. Let's throw another convention. Let's have another primary, and let's get it rocking and rolling and do it democratically, but do it right. Y'all didn't do that. Y'all all folded and let the media tell you what to do, and all of a sudden, boom, here's Kamala Harris. She's going to be the next candidate and going to be your damn pick as the candidate for president for the Democrats. Kamala Harris, really? Soup salad? And then she's got to pick a running mate. So the dude that everybody thought she should have picked, I don't know if these are her words or somebody else's words, he's too Jewish. Really? And I think maybe another one was like, well, he's gay. I'm not sure if America's ready for a gay Jewish guy. I don't know. Maybe he's one and the same guy. I don't know. So I guess somebody did some vetting, but they picked Tim Walz. That guy is a frickin' fruitcake. Yeah, he's got TDS. He's got TDS bad. He's a pervert. I'm just telling you what I believe. I believe he's a fruitcake and he's a pervert. I believe there's something wrong with that man. Bad. But that's the guy that she picked to be her running mate. He's a freaking person. He's an embarrassment. So he's the governor of Minnesota. He's the guy that thought, well, we need to put tampons in little boys' bathrooms and all this other shit. That guy's, he's a soup sandwich. I mean, a true football bat in all the words. So for years, people up there in Minnesota, a handful of people have been going, hey, man, all this COVID stuff, there's a lot of fraud going on up here, man. And we've got a gang, a syndicate, kind of like what they have in Somali, warlords. And you know what, guys? It's all coming out. There is a massive organization in Minnesota that's all networked together that used we're talking over $1 billion of taxpayers' money that was supposed to go help all these COVID things. That whole thing was a scam. All of it was a scam. But there is a group of Somalis, we're talking hundreds of them, that's got all these little grocery stores, and they got all this, they got all that, and they started forming all these 501c3s. It's their culture. It's not the color of their skin. not the God they worship. It's their culture. And they raped and pillaged and stole millions upon millions upon millions until it gets to that letter with B. Over $1 billion of the Minnesota folks' tax dollars was squandered away, and it was to buy elaborate homes for all these Somalis. They bought vacation trips, automobiles, and they sent millions upon millions of dollars back to Somali, who we know that entire country is a cesspool of crime. We know for a fact that money went there. And then we have high reason to believe it's probably landed in some kind of terrorist organization camp, buying explosives or shit on the black market. But we also know that that money was also then turned around and then went back into funding campaign people like elected officials. And it went into contributions to media people. And even the attorney general asked for that money. Yep. Yeah, buddy. And what do the liberals want to do? They're looking for a distraction. The liberals are like, holy crap, how do we get out of this? Well, this is what they're using. This is this week's distraction. It's another hoax. Is, oh my gosh, one of those missiles that blew up one of those drug smuggling terrorist boats coming out of Venezuela. First of all, if you're a drug smuggler, that's a hazardous condition. There's a high likelihood your ass is going to get caught or killed. I'm just saying. But President Trump and our new Department of War Secretary, Pete Hegseth, go Pete. I call him Pistol Pete. I know I'm using a phrase for a basketball player. I call him Pistol Pete. So President Trump and Pistol Pete are like, you know what? We're going to protect America, which I'm all about. And you know what? These narco-terrorist guys that are, this is how they attack America. Funnel as much drugs as you can into this country. Yeah, read your history. Somebody did that to China in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Yeah, funnel as much opium into China, and you can really screw them up. Well, their fentanyl and whatever else they're bringing to America, that's just a one more. It's not just like a one silver bullet how they're going to try to destroy America. They're doing it in multiple ways. Well, the drugs is another way. So our president and our Department of War and our Homeland Security folks have made it a priority, which I'm 100% about, is A, get the deportations going and get these fucking people out of the country. But B is stop the drugs and make it, you know what? It's like, ooh. And the drug smuggling has dropped significantly. But in Venezuela, they're still like, okay, I would love to know what the average salary is. I need you to get on this boat that you don't own. But we got a boat that's just loaded with millions of dollars of drug contraband. And you need to haul ass and run this to a place where we can get it to America. Well, we got the U.S. military operating in international waters. So I'm going, it ain't happening. And I'm 100% behind it. So it's already clear. Yep. And if we catch you, and for all those screaming liberals going, oh, they're not getting due process. No, they are getting due process. And we're using drones and whatnot, and we're blowing the damn boats out of the water. Well, there's distraction because of all the shit that's breaking loose here about all the corruption they're finding in the Democratic Party and and whatnot. The distraction is they're all pissing and whining in their Wheaties because one of the missile strikes to the boat was not 100% effective. Now, somebody may say, well, what does that mean? It means that the damn thing was still floating. Okay. All right. So the missile strike did not sink the boat and its cargo. Well, they're survivors and they're swimming around. Okay. So what? Here's some advice for the future smugglers. If a missile hits your boat and it boom blows up and your ass flies over like 50 feet and you land in the water and you're thinking, shit, and you see the boat still sitting there and it's not 100% destroyed, don't swim back to the boat. There's a high likelihood they're going to pop it again. It's called a double tap. but they're going to pop it again. You would do well, so surely you're smart enough to wear a life preserver, especially after you now know that those in front of you are getting their asses blown out of the water. It's a high chance you'll end up having to swim on this trip. But yeah, don't swim back to the boat. Swim away from the boat because they're probably going to pop it again. So now they're like, oh, international war crimes. Oh, Pete Hegseth should retire or resign. Wrong, 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 wrong. You liberals will never, ever learn. Gosh, y'all incredibly stupid. All right. So I'm already at 40 minutes. So the last thing I want to wrap up, which I don't think I did it very well, is I was talking about affordability. And that's the buzzwords now. So the Democrats have picked up on this, and what they're figuring out is, oh, we got a midterm coming, and here's what we need to do. We need to start using that word that Trump used it, and it worked. Yeah, it did. And people are still concerned about it. But affordability, what does that mean? And they're talking about it in New York and the large city. Well, people can't afford housing. Well, if you can't afford it, it's either too expensive or you're a bad manager of your financial resources. So if you say, I would like to be able to afford that house, I'd like to be able to afford that car. Well, the question is, have you picked one that's like outside of your budget? Because if you pick something that's outside of your budget, you can't afford it. So you need to ask yourself, when I go and I'm looking to procure, whether it's a house, transportation, whatever, food, like my wife and I do a lot, you have to ask yourself, can I afford that? Because if you think that your life is supposed to be all about the has-beens and I got to keep up with the Joneses, then you can't afford it. And if you don't have any money, you can't afford it. And the fact that you don't have no money and you can't afford it is not my fault. And it's not the taxpayer's fault. So not everything is affordable. And when I've said it the other day is making it obtainable doesn't make it affordable. It just means you got it. So telling somebody we're going to help you obtain a nice house or an apartment. First of all, people who rent rarely take care of this stuff, especially a particular culture who they've never. If you take people from a society, from a culture who have zero respect for property, they don't know how to take care of anything. They've been born, raised, reared up, and just tear your shit up. And if you get people and you bring them to America and they were brought up in a shithole and you put them in a nice apartment, it's not racist. They'll tear it up in 5 minutes. Yep. And all the crime that comes with that culture comes with it. And then all of a sudden, that apartment complex is non-desirable. Why? Because people look and go, damn, the police are always there. Damn, there's always drug busts. Damn, there's all these other people. Damn, there's this. There's fights in the parking lot. There's loud music. And the list goes on. People, normal people, civil people, don't want to live with animals. Yep. So if you're an animal, if you're one of those people, if you're an animal, have zero respect for property, other people's property, other people's security and safety, if you want to play loud music to the wee hours of the night or work on cars in a driveway that are and wakes up everybody in the world, if you want to do all that, then you need to figure out what you can afford. Folks don't want to live like that. Not civil people. They don't want to live like that. So it's real simple. If you can't afford it, then do something about it. But don't ask the taxpayers to do something about it for you. Don't ask the government to do something about it for you. Well, I can't afford it. Well, where's your money going? Is it going into false eyelashes, fingernails, massages, tattoos, cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, cell phones, cars, and then not just cars, but you'll spend $2,000 to put ground effects and bling bling and shit sticking out of your tires and wheels and make your car bounce up and down and all that other shit. If that's where your money's going, then that's a priority of yours. But don't come bitching and whining at the American taxpayers to foot the bill because you say, well, I can't afford it. No, what you can't afford to do is get your life right. That's what you can't afford to lose. Yeah, anyway, get me started. All right, that's all I got, man. Sorry, 45 minutes again. Al Reader, thank you for all that you do, brother. I appreciate you. My wife says, what are you going to do on your podcast day? And I said, I'm not sure. And I don't do a lot of planning, as y'all can tell. But, yeah, just like, what are you going to do? Christmas is coming. So my wife goes, why don't you talk about Christmas? Well, maybe I'll do that next week. So who knows? But I didn't even talk about the chickens, did I? Chickens are doing well. They're doing well. I posted a video the other day about them. I try to let them out at least twice a day if I can and let them get out. It's good for their stress. And now they're even more so. There's like 6 or 7 or 8 of them. I'm like the Roo tidbitting, and no matter where I walk in the yard, they follow me along. So I get on my hands and knees with a stick. I never thought I'd be doing this at my age. I'm on my hands and knees with a stick, scratching the ground, and I make sounds. And I just make sounds. It's chicken sounds. I know. Mike Snyder and Al Reader going, good God Almighty, Jerry Daniels is on a podcast making chicken sounds. I am. But I make sounds and I rub the ground and they all come running. They think I'm the rooster, and I'm tidbitting, meaning I'm showing them where food is. It's hilarious. But you know what? The girls lay eggs. And I noticed yesterday, I'll get off here. I noticed yesterday, Laura says you're terrible at wrapping up, and I am. But I noticed yesterday when I had them all out, one of my black Australorps, I could see her vent, her flute, her butthole, and it was bloody. And I thought, oh no, because I noticed I had a blood on the egg the other day. And I went and checked on her, and it looks like a chicken has pecked at her butt. And anyway, so I rubbed some medicine on it. I don't know. I'll check it today and see if it's any better. But that's where the blood came from on an egg. She had a bloody booty, and it's not internal. I checked her. It's a little. I call it the top lip of their flute. It's funny looking, but her top lip was a little swollen, and it looked like it got irritated, or one of the other chickens picked at it or something. Hell, I don't know. All right, that's all I got, folks. Hey, thank you all again for listening. Keep Mike Posey in your prayers. Thanks for your words of encouragement to me. And God is good. God is great. I have not lost confidence and faith of America. We have a great, I believe, and I'm not going to say because everybody believes it. No, it's what I believe. I believe President Trump is doing a phenomenal job. And you know what? Our president could be and his administration could be far more effective in making and keeping America a great nation if the libtards would just step out of the way, swallow their pride, and realize they're on the wrong side of the fence 99% of the time, and these damn liberal news media could quit spreading their propaganda. Yep. But the Obama administration, even the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, the Biden administration, the damage y'all have done to this nation, yeah, it's pretty much coming to a head. So all you got to look at is all the illegal immigration that has flooded, and that's what's happened. It's pretty easy to tell where it came from. But yeah. And Jasmine Crockett, I'll just end with this. Jasmine Crockett, you are a freaking idiot. You are. You're Hank Johnson stupid. Yeah. All right. God bless America. God bless you and your family. And I will talk to y'all soon. Mike Coker, let's go to work, brother. Bicycle.